Okay, so here we go. We want to put all of this together. And as I showed you in the previous video, these two constants affect the y values, and these constants have an effect on the x values. And probably like everything else that we've been doing in these two lectures, looking at a picture is maybe the most helpful thing, and then we'll try to organize our thinking and see how this can be done without needing to use a grapher. Okay, here we go. Okay, so take this all in if you can. In purple, as always, is our graph of sine of x. The new graph is given right here. Okay, so let's see if we can annotate this correctly. The 2 and the minus 1 change the y values. Now remember that the y values for plain old sine of x go from minus 1 to 1. And we want to figure out what does the 2 do and what does the minus 1 do. And just as with any order of operations, we want to deal with multiplication before we deal with subtraction. And so what happens here is the new range is going to be this. Usually the range of sine is minus 1 to 1. This is going to go minus 2 to 2, and then it's going to bring it down 1. So instead of minus 2 to 2, it goes minus 3 to 1. And check it out. Down here, we're at minus 3, and up here, we're at 1 in our new graph. And so that takes care of these two constants pretty quickly. So now let's look at what happens with the 1/2 and the pi over 2. Okay, so the 1/2 changes the period, and the new period is going to be 2 pi over 1/2, or 4 pi. So let's just check that out. If we look at this graph, we'll start, say, here, and if we go from there all the way back to here, you should be able to see that that's 4 pi. And the other change is this plus pi over 2 means that the graph of sine, the purple graph, gets shifted pi over 2 to the left, to right here. So from here to here is pi over 2. And so what that tells us is that one full period, let me write it down, one period is going to go from minus pi over 2 to 4 pi plus pi over 2. And that'll be one full period for this function. Right? So it starts at minus pi over 2. Just like sine starts at 0, this starts at minus pi over 2. And after one full period, it's going to be at 4 pi plus pi over 2. And we'll do one more, but that's pretty much how this works, dealing with the y values and dealing with the x values. Okay, so here we go. Let's check this out. Here are the y values. Here are the numbers that affect the y values. So what this tells me is that the range of my new graph, well, this is going to make it go minus 3 to 3, and then everything gets yanked down 2. So the new range is going to be minus 3 minus 2 is minus 5, 2, 3 minus 2, or 1. And notice that the amplitude here is 3. That doesn't change. That'll always be the amplitude right there. So that's easy enough. So when we graph it, we're going to graph it from minus 5 to 1. Now, here's what's cool, is this affects the period. And so my new period is going to be 2 pi over pi over 2, which is going to equal what? Just plain old 4. Kind of cool. There's no There's no pi in there. This moves it 1 to the right. So that means 1 period is going to go from, okay, so it's going to start at 1, and the period length is 5, so it's going to go from 1 to 5. And so when I graph this, like so, it's going to be down here at -5, and up as high as 1. I'm going to go from 1 to 5. I'll break that up into 4 quadrants like this. And now what I'm graphing is sine. So sine starts at the midline. Now the midline is actually going to be at -2. And so maybe I'll just kind of sketch that in right here. That's at -2. So I'm graphing sine. Sine starts at the midline, which is 0 usually. And then it goes up to the top. And then it comes back down to the midline, and then it goes down to the bottom, and then it goes back to the midline. So that is how I would graph this without any graphing utility at all. Pretty cool? Alrighty, so that is pretty much what we need to teach you about graphing transformations. You'll do a lot of practice with homework, but in terms of sine and cosine, that's how it works. Alright, have fun. See you next time.